if you've been following my channel for a while, then you know that I am a fan of Kaitlyn Amanda, aka Kinda Australian. And I've already done a few reviews or reactions to her channel. But I thought this would be a bit of a fun one to look at too, because there's things in here that surprised me. I actually haven't watched it right through. I thought I'd do it as a full reaction video or two back-to-back videos probably. But I thought this would be a fun one to do, and it's been a while since I've done a reaction to one of her videos. So let's jump in and find out what are 20 Australian foods that confuse Americans.
G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Kaitlyn and I'm an American living in beautiful Sydney, Australia. And as so many of you guys know, I love my Aussie foods, you guys. From meat pies to fairy bread to pavlova. I've even been converted to loving Vegemite over here. I love my Australian foods. And there are so many amazing foods in Australia. But sometimes the culture shock really hits when you're walking around an Aussie grocery store. Especially my first couple months coming over here, there were some food items that just blew me away. And this list that I'm going to share with you guys today is not the typical Aussie food list that you'll find on pretty much any sort of Australian themed YouTube channel. We're not going to be talking about beetroot on a burger or Vegemite in toast or fairy bread. No, this is stuff that really confused me as an American when I first came over here. So if you want to see what that list is, grab a Becky, grab a cuppa, and let's get right into this video.
So straight up, kudos to Kaitlyn for deciding to do something a little different to they have beetroot in their burgers and they have snags in bread. So I think this is what drew me in straight away. I was like, yeah, this is going to be a bit more refreshing. I am going to skip the intro, partly because I don't know if it'll flag up as copyright, because it's Waltzing Matilda, but also because I kind of don't really like this version of it.
The first thing on this list were packs of those glucogel jelly beans that you see in chemists over here. Over in the States, you really only saw jelly beans around Easter time. So when I moved over here in December of 2021, I was surprised to walk into a chemist and just see packs of different flavored jelly beans everywhere. I mean, every chemist from the large chain places like Chemist Warehouse to the little mom and pop chemists sell these glucogel jelly beans. And they're not bad as far as jelly beans go. If you like jelly beans, they're actually pretty good. I know a couple people who absolutely love these. But just as an American, it's so strange to walk into a chemist and see jelly beans everywhere.
As someone who will quite often grab a bag of jelly beans at the counter at the chemist, I can't imagine them only being available for Easter. You know, they're not even really Easter egg shape, so it's kind of a little bit different. But anyway, I'm glad we have them all year round. The only complaint I have is that they discontinued those yummy mint ones that were out for a few years.
On the second thing, and this is going to be a controversial one for some of you guys, especially like your old school Aussies, but musk sticks. I cannot stand musk sticks. For Americans out there, they're these little pink candies, or lollies as they're called over here. They're a little chalky, they're a little chewy, and they taste like Pepto-Bismol. They are bright pink like Pepto-Bismol. It is disgusting because it just reminds me of being a kid with an upset stomach and my gram trying to force me to drink Pepto-Bismol, which I could not stand as a kid. I can't even stand it now as an adult. The taste is just gross. And that is a candy flavor over here. Musk sticks. It's so strange. It's so bizarre to me as an American because it just tastes like kids' medicine that I remember hated growing up.
Well, that gives me a bit of perspective in terms of what Pepto-Bismol actually is. I'd heard Americans talking about it, and I gathered it was some sort of thing that you had when you had an upset stomach, or I had thought that it had something to do with like, reflux or something. But so it's a musky flavoured thing. It's a shame that she doesn't like them, but that's okay. That's all the more for us. I like musk sticks. I don't go out of my way to buy them, but I think most of us who've grown up in the 70s and 80s like musk sticks.
Number three is canned mixed alcoholic drinks. And this is something that's slowly starting to become more popular over in the States, but right before I moved over here, it wasn't that common to find canned cocktails in a lot of the wine and spirit stores, at least over in Pennsylvania where I grew up. Whereas over here, pre-mixed drinks are very, very readily available, and there's a huge variety of them. You'll find like 4 or 5 different varieties of whiskey and cola or rum and cola over here, gin and tonics, vodka sodas. There's just a lot of those easy one mixer, one spirit kind of drinks available in cans over here. It just surprised me because it's something that's slowly starting to become more popular in the States. It just wasn't really that popular before I moved over here. I've heard that they're coming out with more varieties and whatnot over in the States, but there's a huge variety of these pre-mixed drinks over here in Australia. It blew me away when I first walked into a Dan Murphy's.
Of course, the flip side of that is that it is now being recognised that they are far more accessible for younger and underage drinkers, and that some of the lolly waters can be a problem because kids will become too drunk too easily because they're not aware of the amount of alcohol that they're consuming. So they have their good and their bad sides.
And speaking of drinks, lemon lime and bitters in a pub is one of the best drinks I have ever had. Like, it is the perfect summer drink. I think there's a tiny, tiny bit of alcohol in it, but for the most part, it's considered a non-alcoholic drink because it's so small. Like, I think it's under 1%. But lemon lime and bitters is so good. It's delicious. If you ever have the chance to stop at an Aussie pub, and whether you're in the mood for a drink or not, grab a lemon lime and bitters because they are so incredibly good.
Yep, real lemon lime and bitters from the pub is pretty nice. The fake stuff that you get in bottles in supermarkets, etc., just doesn't quite cut it for me. It's kind of like an attempt at creating lemon lime and bitters.
And one thing that shocked me about pubs over here is that chicken parma or chicken parmy, whatever you want to call it, that's a little bit of a debate. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you guys call it parma or parmy? But these giant breaded chicken schnitzel parmas over here in pubs, that's such a shock to find out that not only do pubs regularly serve food over here, but that they serve decent food over here. Unless you're going to an actual restaurant, for the most part, people in the States don't go to bars to get food. They might get a couple little appetizer things or something here and there to pick at, but that's really about it. People don't go to bars for a full-on meal. They'll go to a restaurant and maybe sit at the bar and eat, but typically if people are going to bars, they're just going there for drinks, maybe a couple snacks, not a full-on pub meal like you get here, or a pub feed as I've also heard it called.
It's been a while since I've been out to a pub for a meal, but you've got to admit, if you are going somewhere, you want to go out to eat somewhere, and you're not wanting to go super fancy, then if you know a good pub and you know that there's going to be quality food, then you know you're getting value for money at the same time. Obviously, I can't say what it's like these days, but in Tassie, two pubs that used to do really good meals were the Richmond Arms and the Pontville pub. But you can usually tell if you walk into a place and there's not a lot of seating left, you know that they've probably got a good value, good quality meal.
One thing that I absolutely love is that meat pies are sold in servos over here. You can stop in a 7-Eleven and there's like 2 or 3 different varieties of meat pies to pick from on top of like sausage rolls and spinach and feta rolls and your regular sandwiches and stuff like that. It just amazes me that meat pies are sold in servos over here. I love that. I know it's something that is so common to so many Aussies that they might not even think about it. For Americans, it's almost like when you go into a 7-Eleven and they have those taquitos or buffalo wings or pizza or those hot dogs on a roller that have been sitting in there for who knows how long. It's basically the Aussie version of those hot dogs. They're quick, they're easy, they're cheap, you know what they're going to taste like, you know that they're going to be good. I just love that that's actually a little thing over here, is being able to pick up a meat pie with a small little side of tomato sauce at like a servo. It's so cool.
Unless, of course, the pie has been sitting in the pie oven for many, many hours, and you get out to your car and you discover that it's just this solid blob of dried out meat inside a super, super crispy shell, and none of it is remotely edible.
Number 7 are slices. And when Americans think of slices, or if you think about any sort of dessert slices, we think of slices of cake, like a slice of birthday cake, probably with a couple layers and frosting in between. That is what a slice would kind of be over in the States, but even then it's still just a slice of cake. We don't just call it a slice. Whereas over here, Australian slices are like these little rectangular bars. They're normally kind of dense to keep their shape, and you could have like a coconut bar, a lemon bar. I've seen caramel ones. There's just so many varieties over here. They're like these nice little rectangular desserts. And it's tough to describe because when you think slice, you kind of think of that cake sort of texture if you're American, whereas they're nothing like that. These are much more dense. Sometimes they're really crumbly, almost granola bar texture-y, depending on the type of bar and where you get it. I've had some that are filled with this really sturdy kind of custard, like you can still cut through it like it's a custard, but it holds its shape. They're just so interesting because so many places make them different, and yet at the same time, something about them is all kind of the same. You still get that rectangular shape. There's normally some sort of icing, frosting, something like that on the top of it, and normally at the bottom, at least you're going to get some sort of base, whether it's like a biscuit or some sort of granola-y crumble at the bottom. Slices in and of themselves are so good, but so different from the American, like a slice of dessert concept.
Wow, it seems like Americans are somewhat deprived when it comes to slices. My two favourites would have to be caramel slice and mint slice. And the lemon one as well, but I think the lemon one is more like a bar than a slice to me. So, what's your favourite type of slice?
One thing that I see over here, and as an American, this is just my like 90s child on a sugar high who's disappointed in this, but cereals over here aren't as brightly colored. You're not going to have that artificial dyes and preservatives that you have in a lot of cereals and in sprinkles over here. I know it seems a little strange, but I've noticed that sprinkles don't have as much of a bright color to them here. Whereas over in the States, you get that bright, almost neon blue. You get red that jumps out at you from like all the way down the other end of the aisle. Their colors are just so much brighter in sprinkles, in cereals, and I've heard that America is slowly starting to move away from that and is moving more towards that Australian, more natural food dye concept, which as somebody who's becoming much more health conscious in her 30s, I could definitely appreciate that. But that 90s kid in me still misses those like bright blue colors in kids' cereals.
So, given that overall Australians have a longer life expectancy than Americans, I'm not complaining about our not so bright coloured foods because it's definitely a plus, and I'm glad that she can see that as well. I can see what she's saying. You know, as a kid, she loved the bright colours, but now that she wants to eat healthy, she can appreciate the that she can go and get these things that don't have the same sort of preservatives and nasty food colouring and stuff like that.
Wheat Bix are strange because if you open up the box, it almost looks like a mini granola bar. And then you just put it in a bowl and you add milk and somehow it becomes a cereal. And people eat like one, two, three, however many you want to eat. It's just so strange to me to see what looks like a granola bar in a cereal box. Now, Wheat Bix are good. I like Wheat Bix. It's a pretty decent cereal. It's just still so weird to me when I open it up and I see like these little granola bars staring back at me. And that's a cereal.
So, is she saying that they taste the same as granola bars? Or that they just look like granola bars? Because I was always under the impression that granola bars were something more like what we have, muesli bars and stuff like that. But that's interesting. I'm going to have to go look them up now. I'm just going to say, as someone who is lactose intolerant and grew up not having milk on my cereal, I really don't like Wheat Bix. Wheat Bix is definitely one of those cereals that needs milk and needs sugar. And so if you're not a milk person, yuck. Although that said, I didn't mind occasionally having a wheat bix with a bit of Vegemite and butter on top when I was growing up.
Number 10 are chocos. And I didn't grow up with chocos in the States. They are these weird little alien star-shaped kind of vegetables. They're slimy when you peel them. They have no taste to them whatsoever. They take the taste of whatever you're actually cooking it with, and it has such a strange texture. The closest thing I could think of over in the States is cactus, but even then, cactus at least has some flavor to it. Here, chocos have no flavor. They just take on the flavor of whatever is around them. And they're just the strangest vegetable. It is something that I have been struggling to get used to eating, but overall there's just no taste to these things whatsoever. They're slimy. They look like some sort of weird alien pod. Very, very weird vegetable to me.
Okay, not only have I never ever even had one of them, I don't think I've even seen them. So are they another thing that you get more as you get further north? Because, like I said, I've never seen them. I'm not inspired. I don't think I need to try them. So that's actually the halfway mark of this video, so it's probably a good spot for me to stop. Let me know if you do want me to do a reaction to the second half. Like I said, I really enjoyed Kaitlyn's content, and I'd quite like to do a reaction to the second half. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe and hit the like button, and please do leave a comment below. What are some things that you agreed with Kaitlyn? Some things that you liked? Things that you maybe don't like? Do you like musk sticks?